in. Yeah, you're going to be jumping in on the show now. All right. This is Naroki 5. Welcome to the Red Pill Nation. I just got to do some quick sound checks here before I do anything here. Let me just check. All right, that's good. All right, let me check Twitch. Usually one is good, but I will do all three here just to be on the safe side here. All right, let me just look at that. And of course. All right, well that takes care of Twitch. That takes care of. And this is 10. All right, we're good to go. All right. So everybody, welcome to the Red Pill Nation Hangout. Roger should be joining us any second here. I've got some interlude music for you to listen to while I give him another call. Just one quick thing about this. There is one video on here by David Creighton that is going to be 10 minutes long. So there's one video that's particularly long. All right. So here we go. Red Pill transmission by Roger Hansen. I'm going to give him another call here. So have a listen.
There's nothing. I will do this. I will do this until I die. I'm not the reassuring lie. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing. There is nothing wrong with your internet. Do not attempt to adjust your monitor. Monitor. Remain seated. Remain attentive. This proceeding is now in session. Transmission. We are controlling transmission. We will control the horizontal. We will control the vertical. The record will reflect full compliance. The Red Pill Nation rises with measured breath, script in hand, ink like depth. Line by line, the weight increased. Words don't end, they multiply beneath. I will do this. I will do this until I die. I'm not the reassuring lie. We can change the focus. We can change the focus to a soft blur, or sharpen it to crystal clarity. But clarity cuts, and the blur conceals. The blur conceals. Then neither stops what the text reveals. We shaped the sound. We name the name. The voice obeys until it will. For the next few hours. For the next few hours. Sit quietly. The broadcast will continue. Unbroken. The broadcast will continue. The broadcast. The broadcast will continue unbroken. Stretch beyond the spine. Margins whisper out of line. Pause once, then twice, then more. To something that is listening back. There is nothing wrong. We are controlling transmission. We are controlling transmission. We are The reassuring lie. There's nothing. There is nothing wrong. No. We are controlling transmission. We are. I will do this.
Hi, this is Naroki5. I am going to be doing this until I die or I find some.
You there?
Yeah, hold on a second here. It's not stopping.
Yeah, it's freaking out on you.
Yeah, hold on a second. It's not stopping.
Hi, this is Naroki5. I am going to be doing this until I die or I find something better to do. So.
There's definitely a little bit of a glitch with the sound. Fortunately, the music is done. Just giving you all a little bit of I loaded up. Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Yeah, I don't know what was going on there, but for whatever reason, the music just wouldn't stop. Okay. Welcome to that was a little bit of a glitchy start. Welcome to the Red Pill Nation Hangout number 489. With me today is Roger Hansen. I think V is still asleep because it shows he's not even available at this point. He's got the link if he wants to jump in, he can. Just one quick point here before we go in. There will be a musical interlude at between each of the topics from this point going forward. That way, it'll be if I have to start editing down into smaller bits, which I might actually start doing. I can do it now because I'll know when the transition takes place. Also, and I believe I maybe let Roger know this ahead of time. There's one video on here today by what's his name? David Craden. It is 10 minutes and 22 seconds long. So yeah, there's one really long video about the Carney Emergencies Act. Yeah, very disturbing stuff. So without any further ado, Roger, introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. I'm Roger Hansen. Glad to be here.
All right. I am Naroki5. I'm still just as crazy as ever. Okay, let's just get this show on the road here. Okay, so the top for the topics tonight. Topic number 1. There's a whole Manosphere section. Lauren Southern plays victim again. This time with the entire Manosphere. And topic B, which I also did, I also covered this on the Naroki 5 live stream. Topic B, Rolo Tomasi and other Manosphere content creators get their Twitter X accounts hacked. Topic number 2, Viktor Orban loses Hungarian election, but not to the political left. Topic number 3, again, I don't know why this whole situation with Iran just keeps aging out really badly. Conflict with Iran appears to be back on. Topic number 4, the quartering gets allegedly caught reporting his critics to YouTube and getting them taken down. Topic number 5, Mark Carney admitting that he's willing to use the Emergencies Act to deal with Humboldt Broncos. And topic number 6, Humboldt Broncos truck driver deportation delayed. For those of you who don't know, I am at, in order of size of following, BitChute, Rumble, Odyssey, MGTOW TV, Brighteon, Kick, and then Twitch. I really don't know why I'm still on Twitch, man. I just cannot seem to get past 2 subs on Twitch to save my life. Although I am able to get, I am getting a regular joining rate on Kick. On Kick for whatever reason. So those of you who other site news, well, actually there really isn't any site news. So without any further ado, because I don't really feel like being, I'm not feeling particularly funny today for whatever reason. We're just gonna hop right into this here. Let me just get the. All right. So then, yeah, hold on a second here. First topic, and this is the Manosphere section. Gonna play a couple of videos regarding, well, I'm gonna play a couple videos regarding Lauren Southern. And then, I mean, I might also play the Fuck Lauren Southern song as well. Yeah, Lauren Southern has pretty much done everything humanly possible to self-destruct over the past year or so. I think probably the biggest one she did is, yeah, every time she opens her mouth, she just makes her situation worse and worse and worse. But yeah, I got a couple videos to play, and then I will also play the Fuck Lauren Southern song, and then we will actually get into this. Yeah, both of these involve Nick Fuentes, and strangely enough, Fuentes and Destiny, strangely enough, get along quite well in this video. But yeah, here we go.
I'm actually planning on doing a stream with her and Destiny, just her and Destiny, later this week. So that should be very interesting. And some have suggested that maybe we should all do a podcast together. And I think that's very interesting. I think it's an interesting proposition. So we'll see how that plays out. The saga is ongoing, okay? Me and Lauren Southern and Stephen Bonnell in this sick love triangle where me and Destiny are sort of like bros. We're sort of like BFFs, best friends since childhood. You know, we're sort of like wrestling around, and you know, we're lab partners in science class in high school and college roommates, and we're sort of like best friends like that. You know, we know each other's favorite colors and favorite movies. We know each other's order like McDonald's, and you know, we have that connection like that. We're just like BFFs. And then you have this Lauren Southern character into the mix where Steven has feelings for her. She's in love with me, but also she hates me. And I sort of hate her, but I'm nice to her because I know that Steven has a thing for her. So we're all sort of in this weird love triangle. We're all in this sort of sick triangle of friendship, but also desire and romance. It's a very strange thing. I think the chemistry would be very good for a show. You know, I don't have to like her, but I do have to deal with her because Steven likes her and we are best friends. And she's got to deal with me because we're best friends. And I think that dynamic, that chemistry is going to be very interesting. Maybe to set up a regular thing. I don't know. So we'll see how it goes, but that's a setup. So that was the one aspect of the debate, which I was a little surprised at. She comes on the show and she's like, hey, we haven't talked in a long time and all this. And I tried to get some barbs in there, but she wasn't biting. So I was like, I'm not going to be the jerk. So anyway, so we're going to do another stream, I think, later this week. And maybe on Cozy, on Destiny's Cozy channel. I'm not sure. I don't know all the details yet, but we have that to look forward to.
So they think like a normal, youthful-looking female face is one with a little bit of plastic surgery, a little bit of makeup, and they think that's like what the average woman looks like without makeup. And then when they encounter a woman, like it's gotten to the point where you talk to women or men about their dating experiences or hookup experiences, and women will like run off to the bathroom in the morning and put makeup on and then go back and lie down so that the guy never sees her without makeup. Do you think the standards for what women should look like have been set to a bar that forces them to keep trying to meet it? Or do you think we should just, women should be walking around makeup free 24/7 so we reset the standards?
Women should be naturally sexy on demand, I think. And that is our...
What does that mean?
Without surgery, without all that business. No, I'm kidding. You shouldn't be getting plastic surgery. You shouldn't be... And the makeup... I don't know anything about makeup. I don't know anything about that or about... And I can't tell.
Well, the real question is who's setting the beauty standard? Who's the one putting on the makeup? Who's the one getting the plastic? Who's the one morphing guys' minds and warping it into this horrible view of not knowing what a woman should look like?
The answer
Technically,
to that.
every time you as a woman engage in that makeup and plastic surgery, you are engaging in toxic femininity. That's what we're calling it here in the omni-liberal
I see.
movement. That's the counterpart we've made, toxic masculinity. Because women aren't held accountable enough for how much they're ruining both sides, okay? So every time a woman puts on makeup, every time a woman gets plastic surgery, that's the equivalent of a guy beating his girlfriend. Okay, 100%.
You know what's cool about this dynamic is despite being slated as the centrist in the conversation by you, Nick, I actually think I'm the outlier. I'm the devil's advocate here. You both hate women, and I don't.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So I'm
I hate women.
contrary
I
on the
hate women
panel.
and men. Nick just hates men. And we're not sure where you are because every new video you seem to change all your positions. So
Oh! Nice one!
Got him.
Up top. Two
Wait,
men.
are you? Am I to your left, right? Okay.
Like this.
Look at these losers. Look at that.
Best friend. Yes.
Number one, best friends. And we hate women. Let's go. No. Yeah,
I knew I brought the wine for a reason. Yep.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I agree with Destiny. I think it is toxic. I think you're being very toxic when you get all this Botox and everything and the makeup. I think you hate women. I think you're destroying women.
Well, then
I
that
don't
just
really
makes
care.
all three of us in agreement, doesn't it?
No, because me and Nick want to see natural women, but you over here, you're on the feminist grind. We all know the 3 G's of the feminist grind: gatekeep, gaslight, girl boss, and that's what you're doing right now. Okay. You are setting an unrealistic beauty standard by putting on makeup and getting plastic surgery and then complaining about said beauty standards. That's what you're doing right now. We all know the game that you're playing.
With the lippy. I stopped with the lippy, okay? You can tell. I got no lip now, and all the Black Twitter make fun of me for it now, right? But we do have the makeup going. It's like a set expectation, though. Men will be like, wear no makeup, and then you wear no makeup, and they're like, damn, are you sick? Are you
and girls
okay?
will be
Did
like,
you
be
get
yourself,
leukemia?
be yourself, and then you show up on a date and they're like, are you only 5'9"? See ya. So
Wow,
where's the
it's almost
problem?
like women and men
Let's
are both
go.
superficial and suck. Here comes the nuanced take.
This king,
Yeah, like everyone's
this king right
superficial.
here is just going off. This is why we love this man.
So I'm just here to keep women down. That's really my only
The
goal.
omni-liberal himself. Yeah, I don't mind a little bit of makeup. I think that's acceptable. I just got in a argument. I was just at a wedding the other day, and my super Catholic friend, he's like, no makeup at the wedding. And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, is it really? But the plastic surgery is not cool. And you can't get mad if you're doing plastic surgery and then you're not, and then everybody points it out. Also,
And everyone accuses you of doing plastic surgery.
Well, you did. So you did.
But I didn't have it anymore. And then you're saying that.
Well, I mean, you're pointing out the differential. So it's like, you did get plastic surgery at one point. Is your real name Lauren Simonson? Is that true?
It's not. It's
No.
not actually. Never. I was born with the last name Southern, which is
Okay.
sometimes I wish it was Simonson because then I'd have, I don't know if you probably deal with this too, Nick. Like you go to check into hotels or whatever and you're always worried someone's going to recognize your name or something. So that's always been a bit of a bother to me. I wish I had set up like a fake internet name, but I never realized that my videos were going to blow up or anything. So didn't really prep for that one.
So there you go. Another BS claim by Lawrence Southern. But yeah, before we break into actual discussion, we have the Lawrence Southern theme song, which is I think the third or fourth time I've had to play this song.
Yo, Lawrence Southern, you a track unclean. Used to shame men for walking away from the scene. Talking about family values, acting so pristine. But look at you now, living out your own means. Single mom by choice, who you trying to deceive? Playing the victim, but it's your lies we perceive. Ex-husband's the villain, that's what you believe. Narcissistic trauma, you ain't got no reprieve. You pointed fingers, called men weak and lost. But look at your own life, check the high cost. Crying on Twitter, telling tales of pain. But it's your reflection driving you insane. Switching your stance, playing all sides. Trying to stay irrelevant while your dignity slides. Trade kind of feminist, now a centrist in disguise. Just a washed up grifter, spouting more lies. Cheated on your man with destiny, a blue hair slug. Hypocrisy so thick, you're stuck in the mud. Switching your stance, playing all sides. Trying to stay irrelevant while your dignity slides. Fuck Lawrence Southern, she's a sorry girl, white trash. Fuck Lawrence Southern, she can kiss my ass. Fuck Lawrence Southern, she's a fake ass hoe. Fuck that stupid bitch, she's got to go. From right-wing darling to a centrist charade. Sold out your principles just to get paid. Flipping the script, you ain't got no shade. Sorry, white trash, in your own mess you wade. Twitter tirades crying out for sympathy. But we see through your mask, it's all just hypocrisy. Blaming your ex, but it's clear to see you're the common denominator in your misery. Turned on your allies, left them in the dust. Trying to stay relevant, but who can trust? A chameleon, always adjusting the thrust. Just a grifter, Lauren, in whom we discussed. Victim narratives, twisted and contrived. From drag con puppet to centrist jive. Always rebranding, just trying to survive. But you're exposing yourself, can't hide the lies. Fuck Lawrence Southern, she's a sorry girl, white trash. Fuck Lawrence Southern, she can kiss my ass. Fuck Lawrence Southern, she's a fake ass hoe. Fuck that stupid bitch, she's got to go. Trek off the sod, feminist fraud. Switching sides like a lightning rod. Always a victim, always a martyr. But your story's getting harder and harder. Claiming centrist, but you're just confused. Spinning narratives, always abused. Pointing fingers, playing the accused. But your credibility's been long refused. Self-made martyr, casting stones. Living in a glass house, breaking your own bones. Manipulating stories, changing your tones. Desperate for relevance, through your groans. Cheated on your fed husband, thought we wouldn't see. With destiny of all people, it's hypocrisy. Now you're in a trailer park, trying to get cinch the fund. Living off the lies, playing everyone. Fuck Lawrence Southern, she's a sorry girl, white trash. Fuck Lawrence Southern, she can kiss my ass. Fuck Lawrence Southern, she's a fake ass hoe. Fuck that stupid bitch, she's got to go.
You know, I don't mean to keep playing that song all the time, but she keeps doing it to herself and she keeps doing the stuff and she keeps pulling the stupid crap. I mean, again, right? I've done a particular episode, not specifically on her, but on TradCon females. And there's a photo of her and the now also turned Ashley St. Clair, together with Eva Vlar, who's still on side. Apparently, according to Eva Vlar, this happened at an airport. So I don't know whether it's actually true or not. Yeah, Lauren Southern, she made the claim that she helped build the Manosphere, and now the Manosphere turned on her. Well, I'm going to there's a long, storied history with Lauren Southern. I've got her famous photograph from the 2015 slut walk in Edmonton, which I will show here in just a second, in about a minute and a half or so here. The What did she do this time? She made the claim that she invented the Manosphere. No, the Manosphere was actually what put her on the map. And when I actually display the photo, her big debut with the media was at the Vancouver Slut Walk, where she walked up behind the crowd at the Vancouver Art Gallery and held up a sign saying there is no rape culture. And then about a few weeks later, she went to Vancouver, went to Edmonton, and did some interviews with people at the Edmonton Slut Walk, where her now famous interview with the guy known as Walking Away Man, and I'm the only guy that has ever interviewed Walking Away Man, by the way. The whole situation is kind of, well, yeah, I could go into it, but and the other thing, her basic involvement in the Manosphere basically involved going to the slut walks in Vancouver, the slut walk in Edmonton, and then going down with Milo Yiannopoulos to LA and exposing some serious debauchery that was happening at the slut walk in Los Angeles. Now, the slut walk in Los Angeles, some of the stuff that was going on there was just outright disgusting. And they were so defensive about what they were doing in LA that they didn't let Lauren Southern or Milo Yiannopoulos walk around. I would have been at the slut walk in Edmonton helping out a guy who I no longer speak to, not Walking Away Man, but somebody else. But I mean, I had a personal occasion to go to, my 30-year clean cake to be precise, and I had to get prepped for that day, so I couldn't participate in the slut walk in Edmonton that day. So yeah, I didn't actually get the chance to meet Lauren Southern. And one of the things that was discussed rather frequently about Lauren Southern back then was about how freaking hot she was. And yeah, she is. She's also a Surrey girl. And I mean, I find it ironic. That's the reason why I had to include the Destiny Nick Fuentes video. Destiny is open, which is a bit of a shock to me that Destiny and Fuentes would be doing this together, calling out Lauren on her behavior. And trust me, she's got a very long list of things, of which we're going to be covering the tail end of it. But yeah, I'll try to make this as quick as humanly possible. Marrying a Fed, knowing about the Manosphere and not and basically engaging in I think what might be considered parental alienation. I don't know for sure. Rollo Tomasi actually had Lauren's ex, sent a full detailed message situation to Lauren's ex. Coincidentally, shortly after that happened, Rollo's channel, they tried to take Destiny and Lauren tried to take Rollo's channel down. There's also allegedly been, she got banned. She lost her Patreon. She allegedly, and I have to say this allegedly, almost got Gavin McGinnis in trouble because she hired a bunch of leftist crew for her documentary in South Africa, which, by the way, she did a fairly good job on. And Fortunately, those guys didn't hold a grudge and didn't reveal Gavin McGinnis's location or when he was going to be arriving there, but he potentially got Gavin McGinnis in trouble, could have gotten Gavin McGinnis in trouble. There was the potential doxing of Sandman. There is the controversy around her lying about the marriage, and I could specifically remember her dodging questions around when she was on with Undead Chronic. Then you have her claiming that suddenly she's a centrist. Then she was sleeping with Destiny while he was married to somebody else, and apparently this particular and it was actually based upon. Unfortunately, Andrew Wilson took the video down where he was talking about this because I really wanted to save that section where Lauren Southern, like, literally sends this syrupy message to Destiny. Unfortunately, Andrew Wilson deleted that video before I had the chance to save it. Yeah, there was that. Then she disappeared for a while, and then she came out with this book, and she made the claim that Andrew Tate raped her, which only lasted about half a day before Stephen Yaxley, otherwise known as he's the anti-immigrant activist in Britain, who was with Tate and Southern that he was in the hotel room next door, walks out of the hotel room, looks over, and clearly sees actions being done by Southern to Tate, which is kind of like the morning after kiss and that type of thing, where he's clearly saying, well, that's not Tommy Robinson. Yeah, that's his name. Or Tommy Robinson is going, well, that's not, obviously something was going on there. And of course she goes and says this, and Tommy Robinson has to come clean and go, well, no, that's not what I saw the morning after. Like, Lauren Southern was not acting like a rape victim the morning after. Tate was also forced to respond to this. And then we get to this, where she claims, with her credibility pretty much gone with the Manosphere at this point, then she goes and does this interview where she claims that she helped build the Manosphere. And the Manosphere turned on her. And in fact, no, Laura, you did it to yourself. And, you have exactly what's coming. So what it more or less boils down to is the fact that, Lauren Southern's credibility has been destroyed. And it's been, Ashley St. Clair, when she flipped the script, at least with Ashley St. Clair, it was a little bit more straightforward. It looks like she tried to get more money out of Elon Musk, who is allegedly the father of her kid. And that didn't go so well for her. She lost a ton of credibility, and then she flipped, which is somewhat understandable. Lauren Southern did it to herself in pieces. To quote Pearly things on this one, it's like, yeah, even if Lauren Southern completely shut up now and tried to do a restart, it's like no one, except maybe for an army of simps, would actually believe her. Now, the second part on this, which I don't have any videos for, Rollo Tomasi, a guy from the Louis Theroux podcast, and a few other Manosphere content creators had their Twitter or X accounts hacked and taken over by a rather sophisticated DMCA takedown strategy. Now, what was really particularly funny about this was that it was an extremely slick, sophisticated, and very well thought out takedown. The DMCA message from Twitter looked very legitimate, which which is why Rolo clicked on it. He didn't actually look at the header before doing it because it looked legitimately like it was a DMCA takedown. He did eventually get his channel back. I don't know about any of the other ones. What I'm finding particularly, and this is something that Roger might be, I'm looking forward to getting Roger's opinion on this. What I'm noticing is because, I mean, I also talked about Andrew Tate, another investigation. This is the third swing that the British government has tried to take at Andrew Tate. And they just spontaneously, less than a week after the Louis Theroux documentary, suddenly announced that, yes, we are going to be investigating Andrew Tate again for the third time. And the ironic part is I'm not going to be covering the Theroux documentary because I've got two other shows on the Naroki 5 live stream, one of which I might even do today if I've got time for it, is the fact that all of this just happened to come up less than 3 weeks after the Theroux documentary. Now, let me make something clear to the people who aren't in the manosphere that are going to be listening to this. Like the Theroux documentary, because I actually saw somebody on Twitter actually make this claim that the Theroux documentary did generational damage to the manosphere. Let me assure you, it did no such thing. In fact, what ends up happening here, because I literally covered this on the last show, is that every time the MSM lies about the manosphere, right? Yeah, okay, the other side, and trust me, they do this quite frequently. The feminists and whatnot, they will act as though this is like a big, huge, giant own. And it's like we're like looking over on the other side of the manosphere, and it's like, wait, what are they celebrating for again? Like what? Like what are you so happy about? You didn't do anything. There's been no damage done. In fact, this is the thing about doing shows like this that end up turning out to be lies, is that the ultimately anybody that comes in and actually does the research and actually looks is going to figure out fairly quickly that Louis Theroux did not actually do the job. He did exactly what I see feminists do all the time. They run over, they focus on Andrew Tate or Myra Gaines, and they will talk about them and will basically bend over backwards to avoid talking about the issues. So was this hacking and taking temporarily, because Rolo did get his account back, overdone? Is this all just a coincidence that all this stuff just happens to happen right after the Theroux documentary? I'm leaning towards yes. Again, though, I don't have direct proof. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Roger, who's been sitting quietly for almost 40 minutes now listening to me talk, and somehow he hasn't tried to take a knife to his wrist. So here you go, Roger.
Well, I mean, the only thing I've really got to say about all that stuff is it's really interesting that I find out that Fuentes is not only a white supremacist, but he's freaking a homosexual too. That was amazing, dude. Like if you had to call somebody a queer, dude, freaking I would call Fuentes a freaking queer. It's bad enough that he's got a last name like Fuentes and he's white supremacist. That's really stupid. But now he's a white supremacist homosexual. That's all I gotta say.
Okay, like I said, I don't know that much about Fuentes. I don't follow his stuff, so I mean,
that's the first time I seen him. I hear about him all the time. It goes along with a lot of the things I was talking about with Charlie Kirk, but that's the first time I've actually seen him on a stream. He's queer as a freaking $3 bill.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't follow Fuentes that closely.
I don't either. That's all I got to say about all that. I'm not really too much into a lot of what you were talking about right there.
Yeah, that's to be expected. Okay, so with that in mind,
except for that chick, she got She got any naked pictures and shit?
Lauren Southern.
Yeah.
There's some racy stuff out there. There's one photo
Yeah.
here. I'll post up. It's her, Ashley St. Clair, and Eva Vlar, who is probably here. I'll just post it up very briefly. Have a look, and then I'm going to go back to the tenant media shot. Here you go.
Get some lingerie shots in there. Oh, I've seen her. I've seen that one already.
Yeah. There is some very racy shots of Ashley St. Clair because she used to do OnlyFans before she discovered the political grift. So there is some stuff out there about with Ashley St. Clair. I have not gone looking for it though. Okay, so yeah, we'll go into the transition music here, and then we'll get on to the next one. This is by Alexander Nakarada. This is a melodic interlude. Yeah, we're gonna play for about a minute of it here before we move on to the next one. Again, I'm doing this strictly for edit purposes, so here we go. Okay, we'll get into the okay, so Viktor Orban lost the election this week. I got a video here. It's an 8-minute long video for Viktor Orban by India today, and then I'm gonna have some stuff to say about it. So here we go.
Hungary has delivered one of the most dramatic political reversals in modern European history. After 16 years in power, Viktor Orban, the man who once defined Hungary's political direction, has been defeated. Not narrowly, not controversially, but decisively. Opposition leader Peter Magyar and his TISA party have secured a sweeping parliamentary majority, and with it, a mandate to dismantle the system Orban built over nearly 2 decades. This was not just an election, it was a political rupture. Turnout surged past 74%, one of the highest in Hungary's modern history. And when the votes were counted, the result was overwhelming. A 2/3 supermajority for TISA, at least 138 out of 199 seats, enough power to rewrite the constitution itself, enough to undo the political architecture of Orban's Hungary. For years, Viktor Orban was seen as politically untouchable, a leader who had mastered the mechanics of modern power, control over institutions, media influence, and a fragmented opposition. But this time, something changed. Peter Magyar didn't just oppose him, he unified the opposition, he disciplined it, and he turned frustration into a coordinated political force. Orban's system was never a classic dictatorship. It was something more subtle, a hybrid model. Elections existed, opposition existed, but the environment was heavily tilted. Gerrymandered districts, state-aligned media dominance, strategic use of public resources, and a political culture built around loyalty and narrative control. It was effective until voters finally had a credible alternative. And when that alternative arrived, the system cracked. Because even constrained democracies have one fundamental weakness. If voters believe change is possible, they eventually take it. And that is exactly what happened in Hungary. But the most unexpected moment did not come at the ballot box. It came after it. Viktor Orban conceded immediately, without delay, without resistance, no emergency measures, no institutional pushback, no attempt to escalate the crisis, just a swift acceptance of defeat. That matters, because many feared a different scenario, a refusal to concede, a constitutional standoff, or even street-level confrontation, the kind of instability that has triggered deeper political crises in other regions and countries. But Hungary avoided that path. And in doing so, it avoided immediate chaos. Now, the focus shifts beyond Hungary, because this election is not just a domestic story, it is a geopolitical shockwave, and its first major impact is being felt in Moscow. For Vladimir Putin, this is a strategic loss. Hungary under Orban was one of Russia's most reliable voices inside the European Union, a government that repeatedly slowed EU decisions on Ukraine, that complicated sanctions debates, and that created friction inside European institutions at critical moments of the war. Orban's Hungary functioned as a political buffer for Moscow, not formally aligned, but consistently disruptive to EU consensus. There were even revelations of close communication channels between Hungarian officials and Russian political operatives. And in private diplomatic exchanges, Orban was portrayed as a useful intermediary inside Europe's decision-making system. Now that channel is weakening. And that changes the balance inside the European Union, because Russia doesn't just lose an ally, it loses influence inside the architecture of European policy itself. The implications go beyond Ukraine. They go to the core of Russia's broader strategy in Europe, which relies not only on military strength, but on political fragmentation. Hungary was a key part of that fragmentation. And now it is shifting direction. The shock does not stop in Moscow, it reaches Washington as well. Because Orban was also a symbol inside American political culture, especially within the right-wing populist networks that saw Hungary as a model of illiberal democracy. That model had strong American connections, think tanks, conservative conferences, media personalities, and political figures who regularly engaged with Budapest's political ecosystem. CPAC events in Hungary became a symbol of that alignment, a transatlantic network built around shared narratives of nationalism, anti-globalism, and institutional distrust. But now, that network has lost its most visible state power base in Europe. And that matters, because political movements are not just ideas, they are institutions. They need governments, funding, platforms, visibility. Hungary provided all of that until now. The reaction from Washington is politically sensitive. Senior US figures had openly supported Orban's political project, and President Donald Trump had signaled strong backing, even promising economic support in the run-up to the election. But the result places that alignment on the losing side of history, at least for now. And Trump's political instinct in these moments is well known. He does not absorb defeat quietly. He reframes it, he challenges it, or he escalates it. Which means Hungary's result may not close a political chapter. It may intensify the narrative war around it. Moreover, Israel loses a key ally inside the European Union. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had relied on Orban as a political buffer, with Hungary repeatedly blocking or diluting unified EU criticism on issues such as settlements and military operations. With Orban gone, that veto point disappears. Netanyahu's public support for Orban during the campaign, including messages from himself and his son Yair, now looks politically costly. China is also watching closely because Hungary had become a key entry point for Chinese investment into Europe, particularly in electric vehicle and battery manufacturing, strategic industries, long-term infrastructure plays. The question now is whether the new government maintains that openness or rebalances toward EU concerns about dependency and security risk. So what does this all mean in the bigger picture? Is this a turning point away from right-wing populism in Europe and beyond? The answer is complicated, because while Hungary represents a clear setback for Orban-style politics, the global trend has not disappeared. Populist movements remain strong across multiple democracies. Economic anxiety, cultural polarization, and institutional distrust are still present. Those forces have not been resolved. They have only been interrupted in one country. And that is the key point. This is not the end of illiberal politics. It is a reminder that even entrenched systems can fall if opposition forces are unified, disciplined, and credible. But it also raises a deeper question. If Orban's model is no longer seen as effective, what comes next? A softer version or populism? Or something more hardline and confrontational? For now, Hungary stands at the center of global political shift, not because it has solved the debate between democracy and populism, but because it has proven that political dominance is not permanent, that even long-standing systems can be overturned at the ballot box, and that power, no matter how entrenched, still depends on one fragile thing: public consent.
Okay, I'm just going to throw in a couple of things here on this. First of all, um, the reason why there was not a lot of flack around Orban losing is because effectively what happened is they went from a right wing government to a center right government. The reason why Orban lost was because there was, again, this is a very common feature with a lot of elected officials. There was corruption happening on multiple levels. When you're in power that long, especially in a democracy, yeah, things are going to eventually go. And look at it, he's ugly. He's an ugly motherfucker too. I think people could only stare at his face for 16 years for so long and not just say, "Well, look at him. He's ugly. He's got to go." Yeah, no, leftists when they first found this out were busy hopping up and down and celebrating and, oh well, Trump lost an ally and blah blah blah. It's like no, I mean, to quote Steve Turley here, the political left in Hungary is pretty much gone. I mean, I think the left wing parties in Hungary, maybe, I think Orban is still actually head of the opposition. I think the left wing parties in Hungary maybe only won like 30 or 40 seats in their entire parliament between them, like barely any at all. Like, if people are expecting that the new leader of Hungary is going to make a huge, massive number of changes, like that ain't happening. Uh, Orban was doing a lot of things right, and the guy who replaced Orban was actually in the Orban orbit for a few years. He would not have been able to stay in the Orban orbit as long as he did, unless he didn't agree with at least a fair chunk of what Viktor Orban was doing. So yeah, you're not going to see Hungary taking down the fences. You're not going to see Hungary opening up the borders to mass migration. Like, you're not going to see. It's obvious that Viktor Orban was also very capable of playing both ends against the middle here. You're not going to see this new guy attempt to alienate one side for the other, right? He's probably gonna want to play the juggling game in terms of his political situation. So, I mean, there was a big, huge hoopla on the political by leftists when this happened, but it died down really, really quickly when they found out that this dude is basically going to do what Orban did, except maybe he's going to take more of iron hand in the velvet glove approach, whereas Orban was more of an iron hand type of guy. Yeah, if you're thinking that there was going to be major change with this new guy, it's not. This guy is still solidly right wing. He built an alliance with the center. So, yeah, you might see a few things change, but you're not going to, yeah, again, you're not going to see Orban, you're not going to see the new leader of Hungary basically going the same route as France and Germany or Austria or some of those other countries. And, yeah, that's probably the reason why they celebrated and then they went quiet, because there was like literally not all that much to celebrate, because it's sort of like, yeah, the government changed, but it didn't change that much. And when you start to look at it, you really you figure that out. That's the reason why they probably shut up fairly quickly. And with that, I'm just going to turn it over to Roger to have his say.
Well, the one thing that I did notice that stuck out to me was how many people internationally he had going on with deals and stuff. I mean, it's really, you can see where he was actually influential in a lot of ways that a lot of people aren't even looking at, because like they have a lot of go-between countries that the United States likes to deal with as well, especially when it comes to China, because we're technically not supposed to be trading with China other than like commodities and stuff. But Hungary sounds like it was probably one of those go-betweens where we could get away with trading through them so that they could trade our products with Russia without there being any issues when it comes to embargoes and stuff of that nature. And it was weird to me too, that Israel as well as China had agreements with this guy. So there was a lot of things there. I could see a lot of things going on in Hungary that might be interrupted, but they wouldn't be something that's out in the open that everybody knows about. So that's the one thing that really stuck out to me. Uh, I agree with you. I mean, if it all depends on what this guy's about and who he wants to do trade with. I think it's going to affect things internationally more than it will anything within the actual country. So that's all I've got.
Yeah. Again, right, this new guy, obviously very aware of some of the arrangements that Orban did, and it would probably be in his best interest to maintain for economic reasons more than anything else. So yeah, the decision in Hungary was not a massive shift to the left. It was just a quick little hop over to more towards the center, but it's still a center right populist party that won. And keep in mind, Orban was running the show for 16 years, which for a democracy is a fairly long time, which tells you that Orban had a lot of popularity. It wasn't like it wasn't like there was no, it wasn't like he was voted out in a massive coup or anything like that, where people were right pissed off like they were with Justin Trudeau. It was more like, yeah, he's corrupt, he's got to go. And they replaced him with somebody who was probably going to keep things going the way they're going. And with that, I am going to, we're going to end this particular section. We're going to move on to the next one. Again, right, interlude. Again, same song as before here. If I can find it here. There it is. let's move on to the next topic here. All right, this is one of the this is the issue with Iran. This one just keeps flipping around. Like the story, but the time I pick the story, it ages differently. So, but I do actually have one video, and yeah, it isn't a long one. The Carney emergency thing will be a little bit long, but this one's actually pretty short. It's only about a minute 58 long. It's from Fox News. Keep that in mind too, folks.
Measure, and the Iranians should know that this is going to be the financial equivalent of what we saw in the kinetic activities.
And that pressure is already adding up. According to the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies, the blockade itself could cost Iran $435 million a day. That's from lost export revenue, mainly from oil, along with disrupted imports. That works out to roughly $13 billion a month. Joining me now is the man behind that analysis, Miad Maleki, who joins us now. Miad, thanks for being with us here today. So that kind of money, $435 million a day, tell me the impact on Iran.
Thanks for having me. So the impact, as a matter of fact, has started already. By closing the Strait of Hormuz, they have started putting that pressure on themselves. Listen, I think Iran's economy is the most vulnerable economy to a closure of the Strait of Hormuz, because they depend more than any other economies in the world on the flow of commerce from the Strait of Hormuz. 90% of the commerce goes through the Strait of Hormuz. And by closing the Strait of Hormuz, they started the damage to their own economy. Now with the blockade, what's going to happen is they can't get their oil out of the Strait of Hormuz. And what is going to cause within looking at the numbers, I think they have probably around 13 to 15 days of storage that they can store the oil that they're extracting. After that, they're going to run out of storage capacity. They're going to have to drop their oil extraction, and that's going to cause permanent or long-term effect to their ability to go back to extracting oil.
So I assume that means they can't pay their forces, they can't restock their ammunition, they can't do all the things that they need to if that kind of economy is grinding to a halt. I would also assume that means at some point the life on the citizens who are already suffering massive inflation becomes harder.
Sorry. So yeah, this story keeps changing depending upon, and again, right, the administration in the US is getting a little bit annoyed and pissed off with the mainstream media in covering this particular topic. If you were to listen to the mainstream media, you would think that Trump is looking like an absolute fool and like an absolute idiot. But if you actually go and you start to listen to, say you actually start looking at it, because again, there's a lot of rhetoric and a lot of it's coming out of Iranian sources. Like, for instance, there's a lot of Iranian sources on Twitter that keep making these claims about how great the Iranians are doing. Two things I want to point out about that particular issue. One is that despite all the claims, in fact, there was at one point they were claiming that they had damaged the supercarrier Abraham Lincoln, and they had forced it to retreat, when such a thing clearly now has obviously not happened. They were relying a lot on missile exchanges, and again, right, as I've discovered the past few weeks, there's only so many missiles that the U.S. actually, that applies to both sides. There's only so many missiles that either the U.S. or Iran. So I mean, Russia and China could keep sending missiles to Iran to keep going. There's only so many missiles that they can fire at each other before they run out or it becomes untenable. Again, it's looking, because what's ending up happening here, and I almost start to want to pivot on this event and going back to Alberta. But I mean, Alberta's separating from Canada. I mean, the US would definitely emerge the big winner there because the port in Houston would definitely benefit from Alberta oil being a lot more available now that once the restrictions that the Canadian government has put in Alberta would allow them to like drill in Alberta. The situation in Iran is this, right? They keep making a lot of noise about all of these victories, and this thing dragged out longer than expected, I suspect, because both China and Russia, and also, I hate to say it, probably a little bit of globalist propping up of the regime in Iran to keep them fighting longer than necessary to uh, to embarrass the Trump administration, among other things. Of course, the whole issue here is that you know Iran had pretty much played its last card when they mined the Strait of Hormuz because it's like, yeah, you know what's going to happen here is that the U.S. is just basically going to employ minesweepers. They're going to go in and they're going to take those mines out. And if the Iranians try to launch jets or drones or more missiles at those minesweepers, you know, the US has basically got enough forces in the region now that they could basically just shoot down or destroy anything that the Iranians try to throw at them. So the Iranians, the position that the Iranians have, despite a lot of the rhetoric that you might see online, the Iranian position is not really particularly good or even all that strong at this point. And the whole thing is that I suspect also one of the reasons why the Iranians might be backing down is that China apparently earlier this month attempted to make some noise and apparently tried to do a little bit of saber rattling with the Americans over the Middle East. And the Americans, let's just put it to you this way: the Americans apparently won that little exchange. So China's not going to be coming to their aid. Russia's not going to be, at least not directly, and the globalists are being kept a very careful eye and watch on. So I mean, from a certain perspective, you can fairly safe to say that, despite and let's not mention the fact that the Israelis kept trying to poke the bear and continued to fire missiles into Iran even while talks were taking place allegedly in Pakistan. So I mean, like, they are prepared. And again, this might look like it's a 5D chess move by the Trump administration to potentially get, because I will be straight up with you. Iran, ever since it got tied in with BRICS, has become clearly more belligerent and aggressive towards both Israel and the West after when it got in with BRICS. And I mean, both China and Russia's in no position to be engaging in a long-term war right now. They've got their hands full with Ukraine. They're not really in a position to start getting into another fight. China geographically is too far away. And yes, while it does have a large navy and it does have some resources in Africa, it does not have a strategic reach. And let's not even begin to mention the fact that China, and this is stuff that's been coming out fairly recently, China does not have appears to not have the population or the resources that they've been claiming that they've got. And that's also going to affect their willingness to engage. So they're not really in a like. I mean, they can maybe do something with China's in the same situation that Russia's in. They can do something with Taiwan, or they can roll the dice with Tehran and Iran. And I mean, again, right from a straightforward point of view, if I was going to do something in China right now, I would try to take a shot at Taiwan and not try to engage the US directly in the Middle East. So, yeah, they did a little bit of saber rattling. The Trump administration called their bluff. And I'm not saying that to praise the Trump administration because, trust me, I am not on Team Trump. But I mean, it's starting when you take a dispassionate and you take a step back and you take a look at it and you look at all the rhetoric and you see what's going on and you see the direction that it's going in. I know this is gonna piss a few people off when I say this, but it's looking very much like although it took a little longer than expected, it's definitely looking like Trump is going to come out with the W on this one, although it might take a little longer than expected. So, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Roger. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Roger.
I have to figure out where the mute button is and stuff. So, you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. Yep.
Okay, so the thing that I have to keep telling you and Nancy and everybody else when it comes to Iran is like you guys keep underestimating them because you don't realize the history that's involved with battling Iran, especially when it comes to Iraq. I've usually never really pointed out the exact amount of deaths that occurred between the Iraqs or in the Iraq and Iran war, but the Iranians were fighting Iraq with Iraq using chemical warfare, and between the years of 1980 all the way up to like 1987, they had well over freaking thousands, or I believe it was 10,000 deaths that occurred. And these people just kept on coming. It got so bad that, like in 1987 in Basra, the Iraqis had to use chemical shells to repel the Iranians from their. It was just a relentless wave of human assaults, just one right after the other. These people, they won't quit. Okay, so if we do run out of missiles and we can't attack them, and Trump keeps pushing it, we will end up having to freaking put boots on the ground. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to be a bloodshed because these people aren't going to freaking surrender just because they're getting attacked from the air. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's necessarily about taking over Iran. It's making sure that the Strait of Hormuz.
That's exactly what it is. For some reason, Donald Trump thinks that Iran is the worst enemy we have on the face of the planet. He will hug freaking Putin. He will love on him, treat him like gold. He'll go to North Korea, talk to freaking what's his face up there, freaking the short little Korean dude. He'll love him to death, say he's the greatest person on the face of this planet. But for some reason, those freaking Iranians, they're just evil incarnate, and he underestimates them. He thinks that this, or he did underestimate him. He thought he was going to be in and out 5 days. He'll be done with it. And guess what? Now it's going on, almost 2 months? It's not going to happen that way.
Well, I mean, again, right, they're sending in the minesweepers. It's not necessarily about taking over the country. It's just making sure that Iran does not block off the Strait of Hormuz. That's effective.
Now, when it comes to like this oil too, okay, the thing of it is it's like they've had embargoes against them for the last freaking 30, 40 years. You know, they're not doing anything that's freaking even close to harmful to Iran. These people have had to deal with not being able to trade with foreign countries for quite a while now. So
Well,
I don't.
again, I don't think it's about taking Iran over. I think it's about securing the supply, the energy
I
supply
don't.
to the West. And if push comes to shove,
He's
right?
he's not gonna get a victory if he doesn't go in boots on the ground. I mean, point blank, that's it. I mean, he's not gonna defeat these people from the air at all, and that's what he's doing.
Well, I mean, there was a little situation that happened back in the 1990s with the Iranians, and they with a fleet a lot smaller than the Americans currently have in the Persian Gulf, they handled the Iranians quite easily, right? Again, right? All of this talk, and you still haven't heard.
That
You
was
still haven't heard
a storm.
Iran. You still haven't heard any of Iran scoring any type of a major strategic
That's
victory of
because
any kind.
they don't attack people. See, that's the thing. Iraq. I mean, name one country Iraq has attacked
Iran.
or Iran.
Oh no, Iran hasn't. Well, I mean, they've launched some missiles into Israel, but that's just missiles, right? And it is you kind of expect that between Iran and Israel.
Which country?
No, Iran has not actually declared direct war. There was that case, and this happened back in the late 2010s, where they had that Iranian general who directed that assault against the U.S. embassy in Baghdad. That was effectively a declaration of war. Yeah, that Iranian general, by the way, did not survive very long after that happened. They haven't directly attacked anybody. They've definitely funded a lot of groups that have I mean, again, this is just allegedly, including sending people over the U.S. Mexico border during the Biden administration that were allegedly sleeper cells, right? So I mean, this is
Hey,
not just.
keep getting your information from QAnon. Okay,
I don't. I've been to the QAnon site once.
that's where that shit's coming out of, man. I mean, these are the same people that freaking want to freaking overthrow our government, get rid of the judicial system, and replace them with a military triumvirate, and then freaking get order martial law in the United States, as well as freaking getting rid of our Constitution. You know, that's where most of the shit you're hearing right there is coming from. And these people have been pushing that shit for a while now. And just keep that in mind, dude.
Okay, I'm just going to say Iran has a track record. Like, there are no white hats or black hats in this situation. Iran is not a white hat. All right, like, Iran is not the sweet innocent party here, right?
Iran. Everybody says Iran has connections with Hamas. Okay, Hamas actually came out of Egypt. Okay, and I keep hearing everybody always say, no, they're funded by Iran. No, they were freaking Egyptians. That's where they came from, dude.
Well, then of course, then they got the kid. Anyway, we could go on and on and on about this. I do, like, from my point of view, from looking at it from where I stand, it looks like Iran chose to become a lot more belligerent. And again, I suspect that they might be playing China's. They might be playing China's surrogate here, in an attempt to, again, right, because China did do some saber rattling over the situation, and it had to be countered by the current administration. So I mean, it's not like we're dealing with a bunch of sweet innocent people here.
All of that started because Trump set up barricades and set up boundaries to where they couldn't get in and out. And then he started freaking hijacking freaking oil like he did in freaking Venezuela. That's what happened. See, Donald Trump doesn't want peace. That's why he set up the freaking barricades to keep freaking Iran from being able to negotiate with other people. See, that's the thing nobody wants to talk about.
Well, I mean, again, though, that might be in response to a Chinese power play, which is definitely on the table, right? Like everyone keeps forgetting about China in this, right?
Hmm.
Everyone keeps forgetting about China in this, right? Like from where I'm sitting, it looks like Iran is making these moves at the behest of at least maybe not necessarily the entirety of BRICS, but definitely at the behest of China, right? Because I mean, Iran, China's definitely, I think China's probably Iran's biggest customer.
I
Um,
guarantee you, BRICS is involved in this in some way. It's
yeah,
between BRICS and the International Monetary Fund
yeah,
because
it's
those are competitions, and that's what it's about. And China, did China ever make a declaration in this situation at all?
I don't know the specific details. I know China sent some. I don't know the exact details. I know that China sent some diplomatic waves out. They maybe even, and this is a very common diplomatic ploy. They sent a couple ships around and sent them in really, really close and then pulled them away, you know, to kind of test the U.S. resolve, which of obviously Trump answered. Because again, right, the current administration that's in power is a Pax Americana, right? Pax Americana may not be so repressive internally, but they're definitely much more heavy handed internationally, hence the name Pax Americana, right? Um, yeah, kind of hard to keep track of everything in there. My best understanding at this point is that the Iranian government put mines up in the Strait of Hormuz. They have been attempting to send and in the U.S. has got minesweepers in there and they're taking them out. The Iranians aren't really making any aggressive moves to go after the U.S. minesweepers. They've attempted to take a couple of ships over. There is apparently traffic, and there are ceasefire negotiations going on right now. I don't know how much. I don't know whether they're gonna last. It's to certain individuals that are going, oh well, look at how educated the Iranians are, and look how stupid the Americans are. It's like again, right? I have to keep saying this because I deal again locally within a local issue, right? You get these fucking egghead professors going in and they come into the Alberta separation sites and they start like using this condescending intellectual fucking language and treating us like we're a bunch of stupid rubes that don't know our asses from our holes in the ground around separation. It's sort of like, yeah, education does not necessarily equate to intelligence, right? And in politics, education doesn't mean anything that they might think it means. So yeah, like the Iranian, you keep hearing a lot of stuff, and I guess like me and Roger slightly disagree on this. I think from where I'm looking at it, it looks to me like the U.S. is just basically trying to get the Strait of Hormuz open again. They're trying to avoid boots on the ground, but if Iran persists, and it looks like Iran may well have this, probably at the behest of both Russia and China. I think Russia and China, both of them, have gone to Iran and said, "Well, like, no, we're not starting World War III over you." All right, both China and Russia both are not in a position to keep in mind the U.S. is not really in a position either to be engaging in any type of a long-term conflict, although the reasons why the U.S. isn't able to do it is there's different reasons. Oh, by the way, the intro photo, Lauren Southern in this photo is like only think 18 or 19 when she posted this up. This was like 2015 or 2014. Yeah, she wasn't even 20 when she did that, right? Um, but yeah, we obviously disagree on this. Do you have anything else to add before we move on?
Well, yeah, the one thing I did want to point out is like all I'm saying is don't think this is going to be cut and dry and simple because freaking the thing of it is like with when it came to the Iraq and Iranian war, I pulled it up and it said that Iraq employed chemical weapons approximately 195 times throughout the war.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Okay, this included agents like mustard gas and nerve agents such as sarin and tabun. Many, and that was 195 times. Okay, now these people aren't freaking like we are. We don't have freaking religious vigor that these people do. Okay, and when you hear these people when you're talking about this stuff, you need to understand the average Iranian, okay, would love to freaking kill Americans, okay, and they would love for Americans to be on the ground because what they want to do is they want to freaking kill Americans. So if we have to put boots on the ground, every single Iranian that's in that country is going to take a freaking weapon up and they're going to come at us. Okay. These aren't freaking people like here in the West. Okay. We don't give a shit about stuff like they do. They freaking believe in their beliefs 100% and they're very fanatical over it. Okay. They will die fighting for freaking Allah.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like didn't I believe there was just a huge protest in Iran, and I mean, I've talked to some Iranians that live here in North America. That, from what I'm hearing, that is not necessarily the case. But again, you and I can agree to disagree on.
There's a very small. You're talking about a very small percentage of people, man. I keep hearing Mark Edwards say that shit too, and that's a very small percentage of Iranians. They're very fanatical, and they're fundamentalist is what they're called. Okay, they believe in their religions 100%. Where here in the United States, we don't believe in our freaking religions. We're not going to go fight in a freaking holy war. Okay, they will. So that's all I got to say on the matter.
All right. Well, I think we can agree to disagree on that. All right. So anyway, let's go back to the trend. Let's go back to the. I will put on for the third time the transition, and we'll move on to topic number 4. All right, topic number 4. Okay, I have a rather interesting video on this. I keep in mind I do listen to this guy on a regular basis. So this is actually kind of a disappointment to have to do this with the quartering. But yeah, Stuttering Craig actually had a message about it, and we'll get into some speculation about the quartering. But here we go.
If Jeremy is in the chat, I do have a legit message for you. Put the bottle down. Put down the phone and put the bottle down. You don't need the booze, man. I mean this sincerely. You don't need it. Get sober, take a break, get off the internet. And when you come back with some creative energy. I know everybody's doing it, so you should do it too. No. Your flag, your channel should be demonetized. It's literally in the terms of service that you can't do what you're doing with those shorts, right? But you're skating by right now. So all I ask of you is to look at yourself and realize that you should, and by the way, I'm not being malicious at all. Take a step back. Totally remove yourself from the internet. If you need to upload some videos to keep your channel in the algorithm, awesome. Do that. That's fine. But outside of that, get your work done, get done, and separate. Go on a vacation, go down to the beach, and just get off the internet. Do not drink. Don't smoke. Don't do any drugs if you do any of that stuff. I'm not implying that you do. I don't know anything about you outside of that. And just separate, man. Come back. Tell everybody you messed up, and then hopefully everybody can move on. That's the best advice I can give you. I was asking for advice from you a couple years ago. Now I'm giving you advice. Own it. Apologize, and do your best to regain some trust.
You there, man?
There we go. Unmute myself. Okay, yeah. Let me just. So, in case you're wondering how all of this got started, there was a they have a YouTube and a Kick channel. Their Kick channel is doing just fine, but they poked some rather malicious fun at Jeremy Hembling, aka the guy who was the quartering. Now, Jeremy Hembling has this really bad habit of getting involved in internet drama. I generally tend to avoid that stuff like it's the goddamn plague. But I mean, Jeremy Hembling happily, and I mean, at some point, when my channel gets bigger, I might end up. Oh, actually, somebody at some point is eventually going. If my channel keeps growing, somebody at some point is eventually going to take a run at me. That's almost a given. And people take runs at Jeremy Hembling all the time, right? But I mean, for whatever reason, this particular time, allegedly, although the receipts pretty much say that he's guilty, Kino Casino, that's the name of the group. That's the thing. Their YouTube channel got taken down shortly after that, and immediately it got tied back to Jeremy Hembling. And then all of these other issues, and then a couple other people called him out, and all suddenly another couple channels got taken down, and then suddenly everybody started to dogpile. And instead of Jeremy Hembling realizing, oops, okay, I screwed up, right? He's gone quiet about it, and he's still acting as though nothing. Although when you look at his content lately, it's like you could tell he's definitely under a lot of stress. And then of course all of the little things with Jeremy Hembling have been coming out. He seems to be, and I've noticed this with him over the years, he seems to be kind of obsessed with growing his channel. And I have watched videos from the quartering where they're basically nothing but commercials for his business. And and it's like, and he just keeps throwing in like these really fucking annoying ads, and he seems to be very money obsessed, and it does work for him. It does. The only issue is that, I mean, again, right, and this would apply to anybody who's doing podcast work. The egos get involved, right? Like, you have to have a bit of an ego to do this. You do, right? It's just a given. You have to keep that ego on a fucking chain. Remember, we were talking about Lawrence Southern earlier. Yeah, that's what happened with Lawrence Southern, and what's basically happening with Jeremy Hambling are examples of what happens when your ego gets too big, right? Uh, a lot of stuff, and it's like inconsistencies. Like, why is a guy who's allegedly a millionaire asking his viewers to help pay for a trip to an event, right? Like, he's got lots of money, but he keeps e-begging. This has been pointed out. He he treats channels that are smaller than him like he's slumming. He will, for instance, he has, because I know, because I asked, he has, for instance, gone to ICMI on a couple of occasions, the International Convention on Men's Issues. Like, he's been an active participant at those events a few times, and he is critical of feminism, but he will bend over fucking backwards to avoid mentioning the red pill or men's rights or MGTOW or any of that stuff, because it will damage him in the algorithm, right? Also, and this is something else that's been pointed out about Jeremy over the years. He has, okay, and again, I don't listen to his live streams. I very rarely listen to live streams by anybody, including my own, by the way, um, which I maybe should change a little bit here at some point. Maybe have a listen, maybe learn some of the mistakes that I'm doing. But he has done. It's very, very clear that Jeremy Hembling likes his drink. Now, there's also been a couple other things. Like, at one point, he had Sydney Watson on a regular basis. Sydney Watson is another one of those another one of those Lawrence Southern types, a tradcon conservative thought that's a bit of a fucking hypocrite. Sydney Watson was routine, and a quartering actually dumped her quietly when she started doing this, by the way. Sydney Watson started actively going after the Manosphere, and Sydney, when the heat got turned up and the Manosphere started coming back at her, Sydney Watson just went quiet. Hembling did dump her, but one of the reasons why Hembling dumped her or got rid of her is, and this is just rumor, so I don't know whether this is true or not, but Jeremy Hembling's wife caught Jeremy in a compromising position. If you've seen photos of Sydney Watson, yeah, I could see guys wanting to tap that, right? Also, Jeremy Hembling has done some really he's gone on streams drunk, right? And he's done some really stupid stuff drunk. So yeah, there is a suspected drinking problem there. And drinking problem, large ego, and maybe even potentially, maybe there's some other stuff going on in the background. But Jeremy Hambling's ego apparently got too big, and he pulled an oopsie. And I've taken a look at his numbers from the time before he started doing this, before the time that after, and his numbers, like his views, have dropped off somewhere between 50 and 60%. what Stuttering Craig was saying to him is definitely very, very valid. Take a fucking break, Jeremy. Come back refreshed, just apologize and move the fuck on, right? You know, you might want to do some inner work. You might want to do some work taking a look at yourself as well. You know, because it's like, yeah, you don't. Well, there is no specific rule that says thou shalt not flag down and get other content creators shut down, right? Like, here's the bottom line on this is the fact that, I mean, it's like, it's looking very much like you did. And here's the thing, too, and this is something that I definitely, that has been pointed out. There was a guy that I used to actually watch on a regular basis back in the late teens by the name of Mundane Matt. And Mundane Matt's ego, well, he also developed TDS, among other things, but Mundane Matt started doing the exact same thing. And Jeremy Hambling, man, he was front and center and calling Mundane Matt out on this stuff. And now he's doing the exact same thing himself, right? Yeah, like what Stuttering Craig was saying there definitely applies. For the love of God, Jeremy, just take a break, right? Go post up a bunch of content elsewhere. Like, do like 2 live streams a day, or record a whole bunch of content and space it out every 3 days or something like that. Like, I mean, you know, I've followed your path. You started out only doing 1 video a day, then you started doing 2. Now you're doing 3. Now you're doing 3 and a live stream. Now you're doing 3 and a live stream, and maybe even 2 live streams a week. And it's like, yeah, that's a lot of work, man. And it takes a lot of time. Like, I mean, for instance, this show's only been going on for an hour and 43. But if you want to add up all the time, because I do keep track of the time that I'm on here right now. Like, so far, like, if you throw in all the time I did getting the photos and organizing things and everything else, you're probably looking at about 4.5 hours. And the show's only about an hour and 40 minutes running so far, right? So, I mean, even the small content, right? Like, you have to write it up and you have to get the videos and you have to organize them. You have to put them in the right order and everything else, right? And it's like, yeah, and he's got people to help him do that. But yeah, you know what? Maybe there is some stuff going on behind the scenes. That's just speculation on my part. But yeah, you know, this is the one thing that keeps coming up when I think about Jeremy Hambling is that, I mean, you do this long enough, you end up finding yourself being the villain at some point. That may well have been the case with Jeremy Hambling. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Roger.
Well, I don't know. I was checking out his channel and everything, and there was a deal that was going on with Rumble where freaking they were talking about why they weren't going on to Rumble, and they were explaining how they like the system when it comes to the analytics and stuff. And I did learn a lot about how to look at the analytics on Rumble because of them whenever they did their video on it. But I caught it on to something that they're doing, and a lot of these big YouTubers are doing as well. The only reason why he doesn't want to change over to Rumble from YouTube is because of the promotions. He started talking about freaking it doesn't pay enough for him to do that, and the reason why it doesn't pay enough for is because he's taking freaking the money that he's making from his videos and he's freaking funneling it right back into the videos in promotions. And whenever he was showing his analytics, I was really surprised because freaking even with him promoting his videos, he wasn't doing very good on percentages whatsoever. And I thought that was interesting. You know what I mean? Well, actually, it was on Rumble, so he wasn't able to promote. So that really stuck out to me. So basically, he's throwing out garbage videos that aren't really doing good analytically, but he's going on there and he's promoting the shit out of these videos, and it's become a game now, or not a game, but actually a challenge. He's actually fighting against himself, because in order for him to keep those views and keep that money coming in, he has to freaking keep promoting with his money. All that money that he's making off those videos go right back into the videos, and he doesn't make squat for video money. You know what I mean? So I that's where I started catching on to a lot of that stuff. And to me, it just confirms to me that it's just better to freaking go off of organic reach. Don't try to freaking don't try to be freaking a superstar. And the only way to do that is to freaking promote your videos with cash. And that seems to be the only way they get their views. So I just would rather, work on getting organic views from the videos I post and stuff like that. And I don't have to worry about all that other freaking stress. You know what I mean? Because they want you to run through freaking hoops when it comes to these videos and doing the content and everything. And it wouldn't surprise me that he's drinking excessively and he's freaking having problems with his show because of the frustration, because that's what he's doing. He's playing a fucking game with money. You know what I mean? And all he has to do is stop. He literally said that the only reason why he wouldn't freaking switch over from YouTube to Rumble was because freaking he couldn't promote his videos. He would lose money. You know what I mean? So
yeah, he's an about the money kind of guy, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, and it worked for a long time, and he kept making more and more, and he kept what he was doing. He was taking that money and pouring it back in. Like, did he put, which explains why he had the e-bag for a trip, right? It's sort of like, well, are you not like, I mean, yeah, okay, it's great, like your channel is, you're making all this money and you're putting it all, but I mean, it's like, if you're going to be making all this money, right? Like, take a good, because this also happened to Boogie 2988, right? Take a portion of that money and put it into, like, I mean, this is something I've noticed about Jeremy Hambling. Like, he doesn't talk about, like, he doesn't talk about it. None of his promotions involve investment, right? Like, I mean, right? Like, that might explain why he's having to e-bag for trips, right? Because it's like, like, are you not putting money aside for that type of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like me, like, yeah, okay, it's not a lot, but I've got maybe about $16 in Rumble between the two channels ready to come out. Maybe about $13-14. I'm not sure what it is exactly, right? And I'm making a consistent, generally speaking, between, and well, my BitChute numbers keep going up, but I'm making consistently between $1 and $2 a month. Actually, probably closer to $2 a month on BitChute. Again, not becoming fantastically wealthy doing it, and I'm only getting maybe $1 or $2 from Patreon, but the numbers are getting bigger. But I mean, yeah, it's angry and frustrating, and I would love to be able to turn around and take some shortcuts to boost up my revenue. The only problem is that, and this is something that Rumble is going to have to do, because I mean, as I'm doing this right now, like, every time I run a live stream on either Twitch or Kick at this point, somebody comes in and starts going, "Hey, bud, like, yeah, we can help you get more views. Just contact us," right? You can help build your channel. We can help you make some more revenue, right? And I mean, like, having to go through the grind, especially with what I've had to go through in the last couple of months here. Like, I got a backlog of videos that I got to post up, right? Which is why I like, as soon as I'm done the show today, I have to go and I have to get caught up on some content that I have to post up before I have to go to work this evening.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a bunch of stuff that and it is time consuming. It is really time consuming. Like, I mean, it's not so, and again, it's not so bad because the weather's really, it's like it's -4 outside right now, and it's windy and it's gusty and it's stormy and it's effectively like winter right now outside. So it's easy to do this right now when the weather's shitty, right? But in the summertime, and trust me, it's not short here, but it's definitely less than 6 months, right? When the weather's nice, you want to go outside, right? I want to go outside. In fact, I have to go outside because, I mean, some of the lessons that I've had to learn over the past few months have strongly suggested that I have to start pardon the term, touching grass in terms of just getting out a little bit more. Like, when you're putting more and more and more and more time into the show and not putting money elsewhere, it gets to the point where you just hit that point where and you got a big ego to boot, right? Like, you just get hit at the wrong point. You get stressed and your ego gets in the way. And if he's drinking heavily to boot, right? He was gonna make that mistake sooner or later, just like, Destiny made that mistake at some point, and Hassan Piker is going to make that mistake at some point. Ethan Klein made that mistake. It's like, yeah, like, it's great that he's making all this cash, right? But it's like, put a little bit aside, dude, so that you're not constantly fucking having to e-beg, and take some time off, go spend some time with your wife, go on vacation, step away from it, which is something that I'm even like, I mean, I'm almost at 500 episodes, and I'm, like I say, it's strange because it's sort of like you get stuck doing one show and then you kind of get into it and now you want to do another show. And, each one of those shows, even though the Naroki 5 live stream is shorter than RPN it's by about half, right? It still is, and I use less photos and whatnot in it. And I don't hardly use any video inserts. I mean, it's still time consuming, right? And you know this as well as I do because you're in the same boat as I am, right? And I would like to get to the point where I'm just basically doing this full time, but I mean, I still have outside interests that I got to take care of and outside things I got to do, right? And
you're just going to have to give that up. I mean, that's done. You're going to die doing this stuff. Remember, because so all that fun stuff you do outdoors, man, that's gone. That's gone, dude. You're done.
yeah, it's like, yeah, like, you got to keep everything in balance. Like, I like doing this, obviously, but it's like at some point, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had and this is something that every content creator has to reach a point of where it's sort of like, okay, like, I like doing this, but it's turning into actual work, right? And mind you, it's work that when I get into it, like I am right now, I mean, I like doing it, but it's sort of like, yeah, and that's what I suspect is happening with Jeremy Hambling. And he just got into it. He got into it almost like an addiction. He just got into it. So, well, I mean, if he's an alcoholic, you can definitely see him going that way, where he just gets into it more and more and more and more and more. And eventually, like every person with an alcohol problem or drug problem, you make that wrong decision, right? And then when you make that wrong decision, you can't get your ego out of the way, right? I've seen this pattern play out more. Like Nick Rekieta is another example of that, right? You can't, once you make that mistake, you can't get your ego out of the way. And yeah, interesting. So anyway, Roger, if you want to take this topic out, let's take this topic out.
The only thing I got to say about him is, I do see it as addiction, but I would aim it more closely to like the gambling. You know what I mean? I mean, because I see it more as being he's more hooked on the whole money transaction thing than anything else. And then the people that I've been around who's been addicted with gambling, they're more. It's all about the money. You know what I mean? So, and plus the alcohol and the drugs, they come with the territory basically. But I see the gambling aspect of it maybe more of this issue with him, if anything else, because the stuff he's doing, he's putting way too much money back into these freaking videos. When I seen that video that he was doing on Rumble, it was insane. He's just doing way too much when it comes to paying for freaking promoting on YouTube. He was talking about having to put like almost freaking 3/4 the amount of money he makes on his YouTube videos. He puts that back into promotions onto his videos, and I'm like, that's just way too much. So
no, you don't want to do more than a third. And keep in mind, I have pretty much said fuck YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
That was just my personal decision on it. I mean, my YouTube channel is growing. It's going to, let me just take a look here. What is my okay, because MGTOW TV is currently the number 4 site I've got at this point. Let me just take a look and see what my numbers are here. Because I mean, at one point, not all that long ago, okay, my MGTOW TV numbers currently, I am sitting at 152 on MGTOW TV, and I am currently, and by the way, it wasn't all that long ago that I surpassed 100, which was a bit of a surprise. I am at 149 on my YouTube channel. So my YouTube channel has surpassed Brighteon, and it will probably jump past MGTOW TV here, and that's with 0 promotion on it.
Right.
But again, here we are. We're talking about. We want to talk about Jeremy Hamlin. We're talking about the issues that YouTube's having. And keep in mind here, I've got a section of videos that I am probably gonna have I will have to put, because I'm so pissed off at YouTube. I'm not giving them any money at all. So I can only post up 10 videos at a time.
Yeah.
On YouTube, right? I don't want to send them any money so that I could get my Sunrise Hoodie archive stuff posted up, and get it all behind me. But I mean, I'm at the point here where I'm like looking at it, I'm like going, well, maybe I should, right? And that's kind of where it starts, right?
It's temptation. That's what they want you to do.
You know,
and it's normal right around 150 subscribers where you're going to get a surge. So once you hit 150, you'll go up again. You'll get maybe about 180 to 190.
Well, that would make you, without any promotion on my part.
Without any promotion, yeah. It comes in waves. I learned that from my gaming channel, because like with the gaming channels, they all basically do the same thing. They, like, once you hit about 60, you'll get a surge. It'll bring you up to 100, maybe 90 to 110. and then from 110 it'll bring you up at your next surge to just around 150, and then after you hit 155, 160, it'll take you almost up into 200. So they'll come in waves.
Yeah.
Right around 360 is where you'll end up having a struggle.
I noticed that the last time. Again, right? I don't do any promotion on YouTube. I
Right.
have no intention of ever monetizing my content on YouTube. YouTube, let's. I don't want to turn this into a fuck YouTube stream. But yeah, but I mean, we're talking about at the end of the day, you and I are both streamers. Jeremy Hembling is also a streamer. So we're dealing with a lot of the same issues, right? Mm-hmm. Jeremy Hembling just has more money to play with, right? And again, right, it's like you have to keep. I mean, I take another guy who we showed here, Destiny. Destiny.
He's a gamer.
Well, I mean, he's also a
he was
idiot and a hypocrite. But I mean, it's like he fucking streams 8 hours a day, and I'm like, are you out of your like even if I was doing this full time, right? Like, I mean, I wouldn't be doing an 8-hour stream. I mean, I got the 3 hours with this, and I've got maybe an hour and a half, and I might actually well, I'm not today. I'm definitely not doing 3 streams in one fucking day. But I mean, it's like, yeah, I've done 2 streams in the past 24 hours, just an FYI on that. But I mean, I'm not doing 3 streams in 24 hours. I mean, it's.
Now, let me also just help you out on this so you kind of keep this in perspective too, okay? Now, when you take a look at Destiny was a freaking gamer, okay? Now, when you look at people like Tim Pool, you need to understand that he was famous before he even freaking got into YouTube, okay? He was a skater. And he was also freaking a gamer, but he was a skater first. That's how he got famous. All right. Now, right here, when it comes to the quartering, these guys came out of freaking what's the name of that freaking? It's BuzzFeed. Okay, that's where they got most of their freaking money from. Was when they were a part of BuzzFeed and they did their shows on there, and then they moved to freaking YouTube. So they're using money that they made before they even became content creators on YouTube. That makes sense?
Yeah, it does make sense.
Because if you remember, they all got funding from. They all started because of that one dude that was on freaking there. He has his own political show now. He's kind of the Green Party kind of guy.
Oh God! If it's Green Party, yeah, you completely lost me. I don't know.
He's the one back whenever they were getting freaking checks from the government. He was telling everybody they could get their freaking their grants and shit all the time. He had them all the time on the internet with YouTube and shit. And now he's doing his own news show. He's got that funny looking nose, but he came off of BuzzFeed too, and that's where they came from. And there's a lot of the old comedy accounts that were out that freaking like Orphan Tears. You remember that song?
Vaguely.
Stalking your mom, and all of that came from freaking BuzzFeed. They were all freaking people that were from BuzzFeed who did that. So just keep that in mind, man. These people were freaking using money that they came into YouTube with. You're starting out from scratch just like I'm starting out from scratch. So
yep. Anyway, I think for me personally, and this is just a personal take on it, Jeremy Hembling is a lesson that, I mean, it's like as you go forward. And I mean, the Mark as well, right? Because I mean, you got your whole music thing going on the side as well. You got what, two different streams going?
Who,
How
me?
many? Yeah, how many streams do you plus the stuff you appear on?
I have I have my 24/7 live stream right now. Then I do this with you. I'm doing a show with Nancy whenever freaking she's on, and then after that I do my Friday shows. I'm doing a Quantum Gathering and all of that. Stir the Fallout's my favorite one right now. I love that one.
Mm. So
So
you got quite a bit. It's time consuming, right? It's
well,
okay when the weather's bad, but I mean, when the weather's nice, it's like like
you can't compare me to this dude though, because you got to understand I'm a freaking god, dude.
hmm
You know what I'm saying? I get shit done. You know what I mean? It's called time management. I don't get stressed out. I don't get freaking overwhelmed anymore. It's because freaking people don't know how to manage their time properly. Okay, you can't be pushing yourself to the limit. You have to have everything managed. I know what time I need to be on. I wouldn't be on your show right now if I didn't have the free time to do it. I would just,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And that's the way you got to do it. You got to cut it off. You got to say, look, man, I have to do this at this time. I can't do anything else. And if you can't do that, then you're going to get overwhelmed and you're going to be doing too much.
Which is exactly what happened with Jeremy.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, yep, that cover. I think I don't have anything more to say about it.
Schedule your shit too. You don't have to freaking do everything right then and there. Schedule it for a week from now, and it'll take stress off of you.
Oh, absolutely, it will. So yeah, Chilcom Blob Going Fraction. Those will be the last two transitions. This one is about 2 minutes long. And then we will get into topic number 5. That's when we're going to get into the Canada content here. So here we go. Okay, topic number 4. Oh, wow, this one is actually kind of serious. What I am going to say right off the bat is that I think it's dawned on, I think it is definitely dawned on the federal government that this whole separatist thing is actually kind of serious. Now, this is going to be a 10-minute long video. I pardon the length, but I think it's relatively interesting because, again, Carney has basically announced that he is, if Alberta separates, he will engage the Emergencies Act. I'm not even going to get into the legal ramifications of that, but yeah, David Creighton did this video. Have a watch, and then we'll get into the topic.
But here's Jeff Rath post here. I read this morning, and I said, this is incredible. I just received a call from a Stelco employee in Hamilton, Ontario. That person advised me that he was present when Mark Carney visited the Stelco steel plant in Hamilton, Ontario on March 29th, 2026. So this is literally a couple of weeks ago. They advised that when Mark Carney was asked what he would do in the face of an Alberta independence vote, Mark Carney replied that there will be no Alberta independence because I'll invoke the Emergencies Act. So in other words, he's either going to nullify the referendum itself or nullify any vote in favor of independence. It's not clear which it is, but either way, this is a direct assault on democracy. This was not reported by any mainstream media outlet who were present. It demonstrates that Mark Carney has zero respect for the rule of law, the Constitution of Canada, the Supreme Court of Canada, or the Parliament of Canada. This should surprise no one. No, Jeff, it does not surprise. It does not in any way surprise me. And I'm absolutely. I'm not shocked, no, but I'm. It's incredible. I guess I'm shocked that the mainstream media present did not even bother to question that. So actually, we're right on time. I'm going to bring Jeff on board here. Good morning, Jeff. How are things in Alberta?
Morning, David. It's our second day living in a communist dictatorship, I guess. So it's we're all trying to adjust.
Well, that's exactly what I said yesterday. This could be the last free election in Canada because I don't think Carney respects democracy. So what do I see later that late last night? I see your post about another example of Mark Carney apparently not respecting democracy. So I'm not expecting you to reveal any names or who this is, but this is a Stelco employee, one of the biggest steel plants, if not the biggest, in Canada, in Hamilton. This is like the equivalent of one of U.S. Steel in many ways. It's a huge plant. And so one of the employees told you, as I just read from your post, that Mark Carney is going to stop any Alberta, either the referendum or a yes vote to independence by invoking the Emergencies Act. Now, before you elaborate, I want to show this clip, which very few people showed at the time. Mark Carney was campaigning for the leadership of the Liberal Party. He was in Kelowna, British Columbia. Nobody was there except a local outlet called Now Television, which tends to be small C conservative. Did some very favorable stories on the ostrich farm, and they're always there criticizing Mark Carney. But they heard Mark Carney say this.
And something that my government is going to do is to use all of the powers of the federal government, including the emergency powers of the federal government, to accelerate the major projects that we need in order to build this economy and take on the Americans.
So, he's got about maybe 50 supporters in that room. Kelowna's not a real liberal stronghold, but he's talking about emergency powers there. So this is why when I read this post of yours this morning, I don't for a minute doubt he said that. I think this is completely true. And I believe, Jeff, this is why he is appealing the Federal Court of Appeals decision that the invocation of the Emergencies Act by Justin Trudeau was unconstitutional. Because I think he wants to do it again. and he doesn't give a damn whether it violates Canadian democracy or the Constitution. He wants to do it. So what say you?
Well, I agree with you. I mean, it's completely within his character, right? I mean, so that's why, and again, it was kind of an interesting process where, I'm going through my emails and messages from my office staff, and I see this one message from one of our staff saying, hey, this person from Hamilton wanting to talk to you about Mark Carney saying that he's going to invoke the Emergencies Act in the face of Alberta independence. And, we get lots of, sort of odd messages from time to time. So I thought, well, this looks interesting. I guess I'll actually phone this person back, right? So, I take the number, I phone this person back, and had a lengthy conversation with them. They seemed extremely credible. I mean, I asked the question 3 or 4 different ways in terms of what happened. The person pointed out that on the 29th, when this Carney was touring this plant, CTV was there, other mainstream media was there. This is another one of those events where Rebel News was locked outside of the building. They weren't allowed in, right? So you didn't have any real independent, media there. And this individual advised me that they were completely shocked when they heard, the question, well, what are you going to do in the face of Alberta independence? And Mark Carney replied, well, in the face of Alberta independence, I'm going to invoke the Emergencies Act. And this person said, look, I reached out to you because I thought it was important that, you as a leader of the movement are aware that this is what Mark Carney is thinking and planning, and that, that you should be prepared, for any and all contingencies when it comes to Mr. Carney, because he doesn't seem, particularly well balanced mentally. And of course, I took that at face value. I mean, it could be a false flag. I mean, this could be a person just phoning our office and making mischief. I haven't been able to verify it from anybody else that was there, to be clear, right? But that having been said, I spoke to this person for, a good 15 minutes. They seemed very credible. Had no reason to phone me out of the blue to make up a story like that. And for me, again, you showed that clip from Kelowna. It's completely in keeping with Mark Carney's character. He was the one that actually advised, forget the Emergencies Act, he was the one that advised Trudeau to illegally seize people's bank accounts without warrants, without, going to a judge. Just reach out to the banks. The bankers are on our side. I know, I'm a banker. They'll seize people's bank accounts for us. These evil little single moms in Chilliwack that, need money to feed their kids. We'll teach them all a lesson. We'll seize their bank accounts. So that's completely in character with, with Mark Carney. You notice he doesn't say, I'm going to amend the Clarity Act. I'm going to go to court over this, whatever. His immediate go-to is, I'm going to invoke the Emergencies Act. And what does that give him? Well, that gives him the power to, haul out the UN riot police and all the people that they had in Ottawa trampling little old Indigenous women and trampling on the Canadian flag in the streets and, all the rest of it of Ottawa. I mean, that's this guy's nature. Like, he doesn't, he's gone from, and I don't know if it was you that I was talking to about this or somebody else that has very good sources in Ottawa in terms of the caucus. But before Christmas, I mean, Carney apparently was almost in tears before his caucus, trying to convince them that they needed to take Alberta independence seriously. It's, you don't understand, Alberta could become independent, or, whatever. Yeah. And it's like, so he's gone from almost bawling over, the fact that Alberta independence is real and it's going to happen, to now, he got his head around the fact that he's simply invoke the Emergencies Act and start throwing us all in jail and crushing us with riot horses and all of the other nonsense that Liberals like to do.
Well, I think that's exactly it. But you mentioned the Clarity Act, Jeff, and is Mark Carney unaware of the Clarity Act? This was passed by Parliament. There's nothing about using the Emergencies Act to stop any referendum or to stop an independence vote. Do you think he's going to ignore the Clarity Act, just like he likes to ignore other facets of?
Well, you notice he didn't campaign on that in Quebec prior to that by-election, right? He didn't run around Quebec saying, as far as I'm concerned, my first goal when we win this Montreal riding back from the bloc, will be with my majority to plan to invoke the Emergencies Act in the face of any province leaving Canada. And you people in Quebec had better get it through your heads that you are, the chattel property of the World Economic Forum and the globalists. And if you think that you can leave Canada by democratic process or democratic vote, I will crush you, using my powers under the Emergencies Act. You notice he didn't campaign on that before that by-election in Quebec.
No, well, he sure didn't. You think would Mark Carney also talk about this if there was an independence vote in Quebec? Would you think he would also try to nullify that referendum?
Well, that's my entire point. He wouldn't dare, and he certainly wouldn't dare talk about it, right? But it's just Alberta, right? So like if I'm in Ontario, I'm just going to tell everybody in Ontario, don't worry about those pesky Albertans. We can crush them like bugs. I'll invoke the Emergencies Act, and somehow or other I'll round up our 5,000 physically fit soldiers who aren't on disability or in the midst of transitioning, and send them to Alberta and keep Alberta from leaving Canada. Like, to me, it's just a ridiculous statement, and I think it just demonstrates how out of touch he is with.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's just do a quick review here. For those of you who don't know, if you didn't know about the Freedom Convoy, it was Carney's idea to seize the bank accounts. It was also allegedly Carney's idea to have Trudeau invoke the Emergencies Act. Now, you've seen him allegedly do it once. Then you go, then you get that video of him saying that he will invoke the Emergencies Act in order to continue to fight the trade war with Trump, which they're not ever going to win. And then with the mainstream, and again, prostitutes, because one of the things we will be talking about, I think one of the things we might be talking about on the next show is the fact that the MSM has, and I don't think this is a coincidence, the MSM has suddenly, in Alberta, has suddenly switched tracks and is suddenly going gung-ho for the independent media in Alberta at this point, trying to get that independent media shut down. Unacceptable Fringe I saw a video this morning, Unacceptable Fringe, CTV aired a video with them. They didn't name him directly, but what they did is that they inserted him in at certain points to kind of almost like suggest that he was maybe fake, even though he's not. So they have plausible deniability, but people are stupid and they will just assume that he is just a talking head. Unacceptable Fringe is not a talking head. He's not an AI person, although there's some of the videos that I saw were definitely individuals who were AI. You've got that. Then you've got him talking about invoking the Emergencies Act, and now you've got him with the mainstream media present, saying that he will invoke, and none of the mainstream media there said anything. If it wasn't for that Stelco employee growing a conscience and calling Jeffrey Rath and saying that this is what was going on, we wouldn't have known about it. Again, this is also because this is exactly the same sort of thing that they did in BC with that land claim. They didn't go on the press and announce this land claim over the press. If somebody hadn't, and they put it up at the fishery site, they put a quiet little announcement up at the fishery site and hoped to God that no one was going to notice, except, of course, someone did. So this is almost par for the course with the current. So now we've got 3 different times where he has either directly or indirectly been involved in invoking the Emergencies Act, or allegedly saying that he will invoke the Emergencies Act. You've got a situation where he's moving troops. Again, you didn't hear about this. We wouldn't have heard about this except for the independent media and one of the local outlets close to this other base in southern Alberta reporting that there has been a sudden movement of large numbers of troops into Alberta. You're seeing, instead of them getting smart and realizing, instead what they're doing now is that because again, right, the online trolls and the rallies ain't working, right? Like it's suddenly starting to dawn on them that this is actually serious. So instead of going, well, gee, maybe we should go to the negotiating table, maybe we should try negotiate, maybe we should do something to keep Alberta in the country. Instead, what they're doing is they're doubling down on the attacks. They're ramping up the attacks, right? And it's, and you throw in that other stuff, like the way that at the liberal convention they were talking about that, basically that financial Berlin Wall, right? And it's in the bills that are being passed and the sleazy way he went about getting his majority in the House, which, by the way, I'm absolutely convinced that he's going to put into full use. And basically the only reason he hasn't put it into full use yet is because he damn well knows that if he gets too heavy-handed right now, that Alberta definitely will leave. So you've got this going on as well. So it's just, I mean, yeah, you know what? So I'm not, once is just, oh well, it's a mistake. Twice is a coincidence. Three times the pattern. And you take a look at that, and then you look at all of the other sleazy crap, particularly in BC, that the Canadian government is pulling, basically trying to allow China to come in there and build Belt and Road. Yeah, you know what? And this is just me, but I mean, it's like I say, if Alberta does not vote to secede here in October, because yeah, the referendum is going to happen. If he tries to invoke the Emergencies Act to prevent the referendum from even happening in the first place, there's definitely going to be riots. In fact, that might even be what he wants, is to force Albertans to riot. There might even potentially be riots. I mean, you don't hear about Canadian riots very often, but I mean, like, yeah, you know what? Everything that if Alberta doesn't leave, then I'm going to have to seriously consider. Well, actually, not even seriously consider. I am going to fucking leave. I will find a way out of the country, because there's no way that, I mean, you start looking at some of I mean, they say they don't want 15-minute cities, yet all of their policies involved. They say they're not going to, it's like, I mean, they don't have any type of, they want alternative energy, but they don't have any type of a cohesive plan of how they're going to get alternative energy to work in places like, say the Yukon or the Northwest Territories or northern Alberta, where it's dark, sometimes basically, like literally north of the Arctic Circle, like it's dark, like there's no sunlight 3 to 4 months out of the year, right? And where I live in the wintertime, at the peak of wintertime, the sun is only out 7 to 8 hours a day, right? It's like solar might work really well here in the summertime, but in the wintertime, and also what sunlight we do get in the summer, wintertime, very, very rarely is it a clear sunny day in the wintertime in Edmonton or in northern Alberta or northern Canada, right? It's like there's, it's just like it's not gonna work, but they want to just plow ahead with this anyway, regardless of circumstances. And like it's very, very clear that Carney is not has no intention of like had very clear he might not have any intention of following rule of law, right? And you just keep seeing the evidence for this piling up more and more and more. And you know, like and I have to start to wonder, like, is he actually going to be so desperate and so arrogant that he will actually seriously try to prevent the vote from even happening in the first place? Because if that happens, right, like you're going to have political instability in Alberta and in Western Canada that's going to basically force him to initiate martial law. And based upon what I'm seeing with Mark Carney, that is he's exactly the type of guy that would do that, right? So I mean, like, are we even going to be allowed to have a referendum in the first place? Right? Because yeah, that's the direction that Carney appears to be taking us at that point. And I mean, maybe I'm sounding a little bit hyperbolic, and maybe I'm sounding a little bit melodramatic. But it's like every time I look, that's what I'm seeing, right? I'm seeing a guy slowly tightening the fucking screws on a Western democracy. That's what I'm seeing. Now, Roger doesn't live in Canada, so maybe he has a slightly different perspective. So let's hear from Roger.
Well, Canada seems pretty messed up right now. You guys have got a lot of things going on. I think that I really think freaking that it has a lot more to do with England than what you think it does, because it comes mostly out of what you've really what's really been going on for the longest time, and I think that people in Canada is just getting fed up with it, starting to wake up and realize that things aren't exactly the way they freaking thought it was. So that's pretty much the way I see it. And the Indian thing, that's what blew my mind, because we have reservations here and everything too, but we don't just allow our Native Americans to say this is our land and they can claim it like that. That's some pretty strange shit. So um, that's something that really blew me out of the water. You know, I I I, uh, I find it funny, that everybody here in the United States talks about how we freaking stole the land from freaking the Indians, and lo and behold, now they're stealing the land from you guys up in freaking Canada. So that's fucked up. So that's all I got to say about it.
Oh, remember what we were talking about in the last episode about people posting up content to get me to subscribe. Um, yeah, on Twitch, somebody from Quick Ad Online posted up just like literally as you were talking. I don't know what they are. Maybe they're just ads. I don't know. I'll have to go take a look. But yeah, that just tells you exactly what you got to go through as a content creator. And it's tempting, right? It is really tempting, right? Because it's like you want it, you don't want to make it about the money, but it's sort of like, given I am probably on a list somewhere, right?
Yeah.
I want to get to the point where they were definitely doing it at Twitter before Elon Musk bought it, is that and this is what happened to Brooks Heatherly over at No Bullshit and a couple of other these content creators. They had their channels demonetized, and what specifically happened with not with Jeremy Hambling, Brooks Heatherly over at No Bullshit is that it happened right at the time he had just gotten married and he had his first kid on the way. His channel got completely demonetized, right? And it's like he had to stop making videos and he had to go get himself a regular job because he just he couldn't afford. He had a family to be responsible. That's exactly what YouTube and Twitter were attempting to do, right? They're attempting to cut off your revenue from streaming so that you would be forced to work a day job, and it would be a lot easier to get you fired from a day job. In fact, there's been multiple reports of people who were working day jobs who did have someone call their employer to try to get them fired. That's part of the reason why I don't show my face. Oh, I happen to have a job that's not happen to have a regular job that's not front facing, and I generally work alone and unsupervised, right? So it's kind of hard to figure out who and where I work for, right? But I mean, and I did that by choice, but I still don't want to show my face, right? In fact, I've been doing this for so long that if I did show my face, somebody probably would have recognized me by now. You know, I'm surprised somebody hasn't recognized my voice, but I've been kind of lucky in that regard. But I mean, again, right? You're looking at what Carney is doing, and it's sort of like, and you look at what was going on, and I'm going to bring up Goddard's law here. You take a look at what was going on in Germany, and you're like looking at some of the people in Germany. It's like, why the fuck did you not leave? Did you not see what was going on? Right? That was something that always kind of had me scratching my head as a kid, right? Like, why the fuck did you not leave? Did you not see? Because I mean, going back to Adolf Hitler and Mein Kampf, I mean, he actually spells it out, because I know he spells it out in Mein Kampf, because I actually listened to Mein Kampf at one point, because I wanted to figure out what the hell Adolf Hitler and the Nazis had such a massive stick up their ass about the fucking Jews, right? I wanted to know what the fuck that was all about. It's, and like you're looking at that. I take a look at you. There's a very, very clearly drawn out path. And you saw it happen in the U.S. under McCarthyism at one point, and you've seen it happen elsewhere. And the same pattern repeats itself. And I'm looking at Canada right now, and I'm looking over at Britain, which is further along on this, and I'm seeing the same pattern. Right? And it's like, what just blows my mind is that there aren't more people seeing it and not heading for the exits. In fact, the only reason I haven't started heading for the exit now, I mean, I'm just coming out of a really difficult period for myself. But I mean, like part of my rebuild plan is that I have to make it possible. I have to consider possibilities of trying to figure out a way of getting down to the U.S. as quickly as humanly possible. And I mean, I'm not saying that things are better in the U.S., because the U.S. is headed in that direction too. But at least the legal safeguards in the States are a lot stronger than they are in Canada. And do you have anything else to add? Because we have one more topic to cover here. Roger?
No, I'm good on this topic. I'm not really familiar with a lot of stuff in Canada.
All right, so last transition, and then we go into the last topic, which will be a fairly short one, I think. All right, so here we go. Okay, so yeah, the last topic of the show here. Just give me a second. All right, I was going to do the stuff with the Federal Reserve, and she sent me the materials to do it, and I can't find any of it. So yeah, apologies. Apologies, I can't even remember her name, but yeah, I will have to do the Federal Reserve at some other point in time. Instead, what we will do is we will recover, and this happened on Friday. The driver, Mr. Singh, the driver of the truck that slammed into that bus with carrying the Humboldt Broncos, he had a deportation hearing this week, and you know they his deportation got stayed. Basically, he is going to be, at least for a little while longer, he is going to be staying in the country. And here's the thing, like when I was looking at some of the comments that were on this, and there were like people, and this is what blew my mind. There were people actually cheering that this dude wasn't getting deported, right? And it's like, oh well, this guy has a family, and this guy has a family and a kid, and he was a mistake. And yeah, you know what? Yeah, he's an immigrant who made a mistake. And by the way, the 16 people that died in that accident, you know what they also had? They also had families. They didn't necessarily have kids, but they had families too, right? There was one guy who was actually like openly cheering this, and it was like, that's, and I got so pissed off with him that I actually had to post up on a social media and I go like, you know what, this kid, like, he killed 16 people. You fucking asshole, right? He killed 16 people. Yeah, it was an accident, but he still killed 16 people. You know, okay, yeah, he has a family and he has kids, but I mean, again, those 16 people also had families. They didn't have their most of them were young. Most of them were still like not quite grown men, but I mean, they had sisters, mothers, fathers, extended families, some of them. This was not just an isolated one off. I mean, like openly cheering the fact that this guy didn't immediately get, and I mean, he did serve jail time for it. He also got paroled, which again, that's par for the course, but I mean, that's what happens, right? Um, yeah, I wasn't good because this was just a quick add-on at the end. I wasn't going to actually cover this. We were just going to stop at 5 topics, and then I saw some of the reactions, you know, and what you also didn't know, and this is something that hasn't been covered a lot by the media, but there was a reporter over at, I think it was McLean's, who actually, like, literally, while the bodies were still in the morgue, she chose to play the race card over this, and she never got held to account for doing it, right? It's like your son, somebody's son, is sitting as a body in a slab in a morgue. They haven't even had the chance to bury the body, and this fucking awful, affluent white female urban liberal, this Karen, starts trumpeting, this is a good time to talk about race inequality, and we wouldn't be mourning these kids if they weren't all white. That's literally what this one woman said. It's, I believe it is RPN 12 or 13. I would have to go back and look, but it's way back there. Don't bother looking for it on YouTube. It's not on YouTube. You have to go to Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, or MGTOW TV to find it. But yeah, just, it's like, and I covered this on a Naroki 5 live stream very recently, the absolute disgusting concept of toxic empathy, right? And, it's like, if driving while you're super tired, or driving distracted, or driving drunk, and slamming into the side of a bus, or slamming into the back of a vehicle, and then killing people as an immigrant, if that doesn't get you kicked out of a country, what the fuck will, right? Again, right? It's like, oh, well, we have to, and of course, right, like, suddenly these same people who've been quietly looking the other way as people, and keep in mind, I'm an atheist, so I got no dog in that fight when it comes to churches, but I mean, it's like, suddenly these people who look the other way about all of these churches getting torched in Canada, all of a sudden there's these same Christians going, oh, well, it's good to turn the other cheek, and we have to practice forgiveness here, and this guy deserves another chance, and blah, 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 and he's got a family, and all of this stuff, and it's like, great, then he can rebuild his life back in India. He's got a truck driver's license. They have trucks in India. Go back to India. Sorry, I hate saying that, right? Because I don't have a actual problem with immigration per se, right? But blowing the doors open, and I know, because I've had to deal with some of these East Indian truck drivers on a couple of sites that I've worked at over the years. Like, some of these motherfuckers can I mean, I don't know how bad it is in the US, but some of these truck drivers in Canada can barely make themselves understood in English. And that was 20 years ago. Now, when I work some sites now, and I talk to some of these immigrants, like, some of these immigrants can't even fucking speak English at all, right? And it's like, how are you supposed to communicate safety concepts to individuals who not only can't speak English, but openly and arrogantly refuse to fucking learn the language? Right? Like, what we're supposed to fucking, like, start putting everything in multiple fucking languages out on the road? No, there's a reason. I mean, I hate sounding, I understand I'm going to sound like a fucking raving right-wing lunatic here, but you know what? There's a reason why, for the most part, why maritime communications, even in countries that are not English speaking, where English is not the first language, why in certain countries, right, communication, like international, like maritime communications, are generally sent out in English, right? Like sea captains on well-established sea lanes have to have knowledge of both English and, to a lesser extent, Mandarin. And especially if they're the Pacific. But if you're on the Atlantic, it's like, doesn't matter if you're from a Spanish speaking country or a Portuguese speaking country. It's like, you know, if you're flying a ship in international waters, you have to damn well fucking know and speak English, and you have to be good enough with it so that if emergency communications need to be sent to you, that you can fucking understand them, right? And yeah, it was the racial grandstanding on this issue and the fact that there was so much toxic empathy being, yeah, okay. I mean, I've seen photos of the guy. Yeah, he is guilt ridden. Yeah, he's sorry about what he did. Yeah, I'm betting you that if he could do it again, he would definitely not have fucking decided to drive where he was on the verge of passing out from exhaustion because he needed the money, right? Yeah, his deportation got pushed back, and there were individuals that were openly fucking celebrating that fact. And it's like, I got really pissed off with this one guy, and I said, yeah, hey, asshole, man, the guy killed people. Okay, he didn't do it on purpose, but he killed someone, right? Don't give me that bullshit about, well, he has a family. Those fucking kids had families too. Spare me the toxic empathy. Toxic empathy is the reason why Ms. Good fucking got killed in Minnesota. Toxic empathy. And I find it kind of ironic because I'm just going to kind of go off on a little bit of a sidebar here. Toxic empathy is the reason why people are becoming a lot more aware of the manosphere lately, because people are beginning to see that these women will go to ground, and these men as well will go to fucking ground and will defend career fucking criminals and pedophiles just for the sake of looking good to their fucking friends, and won't give a shit about the crimes that this guy has done. Right? That's how bad, that's where it's going to go. And again, right? The guy who did this has guilt issues. He's sorry about what he did. He did his time. Unfortunately, he's not a Canadian citizen. He does his time. He gets deported. Period. End of fucking story. You know what? That's what happens when you make a mistake. You take accountability. And making excuses for why this guy shouldn't take accountability for what he did is just disgusting. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Roger so we can take this damn show out.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't have nothing to say on that. I've learned, or I'm starting to learn, that if I don't really care about that kind of shit, I don't talk about it. So I have really nothing that I want to contribute to that whatsoever. I have a tendency of just sticking to real shit that's important and staying away.
Well, okay, yeah, you don't live in Canada, so I get it, right?
Well, no, that's horrible shit.
Yeah, I get it. You don't live in Canada. So yeah, I live in Canada. Like, I mean, it's a little bit different,
No, we got it here too. It's pretty much everywhere. So it's just, don't partake in it and you won't be a part of it. That's the way I've been getting more and more of.
Yeah, I know. I work a job though where I do sometimes run across these immigrants that don't speak a fucking word of English and have not even bothered to even try
Well,
to
I
fucking
mean,
learn.
have fun with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you want to live that kind of a life, man, live that kind of a life. I just choose not to.
Well, here's the thing, right? Like sometimes I have to relay a safety issue, right? Like if I relay the safety issue and they don't understand, and I look at them and go, "Yeah, okay, fuck, you don't want to fucking understand, or you're choosing not to understand. Fine, fuck, find out the hard way." I leave, and yeah, most of the time nothing's going to happen. But what if something does happen, right? Then workman's compensation, a company, lawyers get involved. They come up to me and I say, "Well, did you tell them?" And I said, "Yes." And what happens? They said they didn't understand, right? And what did you do? Well, I had other things to do, so they were choosing either to not get it or they didn't want it or they couldn't get it.
Mhm.
And I didn't have the fucking time to go around looking for somebody to communicate it to them properly. So I just walked away. Suddenly, it's my fucking ass on the line, right? So it's like, again, maybe it's because of the day job. Maybe it's because of the day jobs we've got, like there's a little bit more at stake for me. That's maybe the reason why I'm a little bit more concerned.
Like I said, I don't really want to be caught up in that kind of shit. So it's just go ahead and end the show and don't worry about it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much. That concludes Red Pill Nation for this week. Yeah, not sure. I'm actually going to be at work tonight. I suspect it's going to be a long night because I got up at about 9 o'clock this morning. I somehow managed to turn night back into night and day back into day again. Now I'm probably going to be awake for almost 24 hours before I get home. So yeah, it's going to be another long one for me. But anyway, so let's see, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So it'll probably be Thursday. I might do an Orochi 5 live stream. Depending upon how much energy I've got, I can tell you it definitely won't be today. It won't be Monday morning. That's for damn sure. But I will definitely be doing an Orochi. I might do an Orochi 5 live stream over that period of time because those only take an hour and a half. But that's it for today. Thank you very much for listening. I'm going to close out with the closing music, and I'm going to wish all of you a blessed rest of the day. Thanks, Roger, for participating. All right, here we go. The hell is it? Ah, there it is, incertitude. All right, there we go.
Hi, this is Naroki5. I am going to be doing this until I die or I find something better to do. So please help me achieve this personal and, I think, noble objective by contributing to my Patreon or Subscribestar. Link is down below. Every little bit helps. Thank you very much.
That is it, folks. Have a good day.